Hi there, this is Matt at State of Flux here with a review for Batman and Robin, curiously not titled Batman Forever. If you watched my Batman Forever review, which I encourage you to do, it's a movie I quite like. It is, I think, much better than its reputation, but it's got a bad reputation because of this film. And what this film does is listen to every single criticism of Batman Forever, because there's a lot to love in that movie, but there are a couple things that really don't gel. They didn't then, they certainly don't now, and it's almost as if this movie listened to all of those criticisms and doubled the fuck down on them, to the point where this movie is very frustrating to watch. Not only does it feature a villain, two villains nonetheless, whose desires and abilities are diametrically opposed to each other. Mr. Freeze wants to cultivate a world full of ice, and Poison Ivy wants to wrap the world in vines and poison ivy. And they team up together, and it's like, so there's that. I've only seen one other comic book movie even remotely similar to Batman and Robin, and that would be 2021's Venom, Let There Be Carnage, another movie where the two main villains team up who have powers that are opposite of each other. You have Carnage, who can't handle loud sounds, teaming up with Shriek, who can only make loud sounds. And it's just like, what's happening? And that's another movie that also doubled down on the criticisms of the first movie and really amped them up to 11. So that's where the closest modern film that I can think of to Batman and Robin. However, that movie I picked as the worst movie of 2021, which was a hard choice. 2021 had some pretty unforgivable films. But I don't think Batman and Robin is in the same league as that. Sure, it's bad and it's disastrous to all things that came from Batman of the 90s. It damn near killed the franchise, and certainly did for 7 or 8 years, depending on if you count Catwoman as part of the mythos. We'll touch on that one sometime soon, I'm excited. But it's a watchable movie. And it's kind of funny to watch. It's a movie where you can hate watch it, or even if you're not going to hate watch it, you can sit there and be bemused by it, even though it is decidedly not good and very not Batman, at least the Batman that we're used to. This is the closest we've ever come to getting the campy Batman from 1966 again. So if you're a big fan of the 1966 Batman, you might be on board with this one. And it doesn't hurt that Uma Thurman understood the assignment to perfection. She is great and read the script and was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to play this at full camp level. And she did, and she's glorious in the film. I had a lot of fun with Poison Ivy. The look of the villains, both Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze, are fantastic. Mr. Freeze, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, is one of those performances so bad it's amazing, and you can't not watch it. And it's not that it's bad; it's just so misguided. It's like Joel Schumacher had a second stab with Jim Carrey's Riddler with Mr. Freeze and was like, yes, just go. I'm not, no notes. Do whatever you want. And he did. From listening to the commentary, which is a fascinating commentary to listen to, because it's basically a 2-hour and 6-minute apology from Joel Schumacher repeatedly being like, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I really could have reeled it in here. Listening to the commentary, a lot of the puns, the chill, that kind of stuff, came from Arnold. That wasn't in the script. So yeah, for a movie called Batman and Robin, I've failed to even mention them yet. And that's because they're kind of the least interesting aspect of the film in both their qualities and their negatives. George Clooney is not a bad Batman. He is playing it much lighter. This is a Batman who has reached the catharsis from the end of Batman Forever of holding on to pain and vengeance. He's grown, so it makes sense that he's a little lighter in tone in this film, and it kind of worked for me. Back when I first saw this movie, I really liked it, and granted, I was the perfect age to watch this movie when it came out. I think I was 11 years old, and this movie is amazing if you're 11 years old. But even back then, what I liked about it was that Batman wasn't sad Batman. This is a Batman that has mended his family by including others into it. And he's confronted with the potential loss of Alfred, which I think is the strongest component of the movie. Alfred is great in all the scenes that George Clooney, as Bruce Wayne, shares with Michael Gough as Alfred is really, really good material. They finally gave something for Alfred to do, and this is probably the best use of Alfred in one of these movies until you'd get The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises. And I just really love their scenes together. Now, when George Clooney's being Batman himself, again, he's a little lighter. This is not your ferocious Batman. This is more of your 60s camp Batman. It works, and it is a valid interpretation of that character. It's just not the grimdark Batman that people seem to want so desperately bad, which is why they don't gel with this. But this isn't Batman's turn to be angsty. This is Robin's turn to be angsty, and this is Robin on a trajectory. Had these movies kept going, I guarantee you the third movie, he would have become Nightwing. This is watching Robin evolve from being Boy Wonder to Nightwing establishing his own agency, and that's what this whole movie is about for him. And that stuff kind of plays, again, it's written for like a 15, 16-year-old. They didn't age him up. I mean, they did a little bit with the Poison Ivy stuff, but the way he's written and the amount of angst that he has still works for somebody who's only 16, 17, thereabouts. And that dude is like 37, I swear. I'm kidding, he's probably like 26 or something. But still, way too old to be like, it's Batman and Robin and not Robin and Batman, and I'm sick of it! Like that, just like heavens. The worst aspect of the movie that is damn near unwatchable is the inclusion of Batgirl, which is so disappointing because Batgirl is such a great character, and I was really excited when they were making a Batgirl movie. Should that have ever come out, I would have been very excited for it, but alas, Warner Brothers. That said, this version of the character is so different than any other kind of versions that I was familiar with, and it was almost like they were just trying to create a love romance between Robin and somebody, and that just didn't play for me. I didn't, like, Alicia Silverstone is an incredibly gifted actress. She's done a lot of good performances. This is not one of them, and it's not her fault. It's just poorly written character. They just didn't know how to write Batgirl. Her costume looks kind of cool. I'll say that. The costumes in general, for being so far removed from their comic book counterparts, look great. I like the design. I still stand by that Joel Schumacher knows how to shoot action better than Tim Burton did, and certainly to some respects, and this is no slight against the Christopher Nolan trilogy, they're not action movies. They're more like morality plays and crime dramas. These two movies are actual action movies, and Joel Schumacher knows how to do that. If you mute this film, which removes the worst components of it, which is the screenplay, the film tells the story beautifully. The camera work, how the camera moves and weaves and goes from character to character, is done very well. Joel Schumacher is a solid director. He just didn't rein in that screenplay, and they didn't have a good screenplay to begin with. Akiva Goldsman, I believe, wrote the screenplay, and why does he get work still? He's still fucking up shit. Like, he's doing Star Trek now, and Jesus. But I digress. Follow my Star Trek reviews. We'll get there soon. Probably not soon. We'll get there at time. But yeah, this is a weird movie. Because it's got stuff that I really like. This is the first Batman movie where he's not pining over a girl. There is a female played by Elle Macpherson in the movie that he's kind of dating, but that takes a back burner to something very real for Bruce Wayne's story, which is the last vestige of parentage that he has and holding on to it. This movie also is a fairly strong adaptation, at least it hits the story beats of Mr. Freeze's plight, why he became Mr. Freeze and his motivations, trying to save his wife, and how that ties into Alfred's story is all done well. Like, the story beats of screenplay are there, a lot of which are foundational to Batman the Animated Series. It's the execution of Mr. Freeze that people don't like. Everybody says they got him so heinously wrong in this, and I don't agree with that. The story as taken from the Batman the Animated Series, which is what everybody kind of like connected to, is pretty much there and intact. It's just executed frankly bad, and that's because Arnold Schwarzenegger wanted to out Jim Carrey, and the studio really wanted him to do that. That said, we got Jesse Ventura in this movie through Arnold, so yeah. And fun little note aside about me, Jingle All the Way was a movie that was near and dear to my heart because I was in that movie, and I'll tell that story maybe sometime if ever I do a review for Jingle All the Way. But while I was on set for Jingle All the Way, they had made the announcements that Arnold's next movie that he was going to be filming was going to be this one, so I kind of got to hear a little bit about that, and from like the insiders and makeup artists and body doubles, Arnold's body double specifically, talking about that, how he was going to go off and shoot it and stuff. So that was kind of neat. Behind the scenes work there. But yeah, Batman and Robin is not a good movie, but it's a fun movie to watch, even if it's a hate watch. This is easily the worst of the Batman movies to this point, and may in fact still be the worst Batman movie. But as pure entertainment, as obnoxious as it is, I'd give it, generously speaking, 2 stars. The last note I wanted to talk about, because I forgot to, is Bane. Yeah, they really wrecked him in this. He's terrible, and if you look at 2 adaptations of character that are so radically different from each other, I think the adaptation of Bane in this versus Bane in The Dark Knight Rises is one of the most fascinating glimpses in how to adapt character. Another one would be looking at the 5 incarnations of Joker, looking at the Cesar Romero, which is essentially just the same one as the Jack Nicholson, but then looking to Heath Ledger, Jared Leto, and then Joaquin Phoenix, and let's throw Mark Hamill in there. That's a fun trajectory, and maybe somebody could do a really interesting video essay about that. But I think somebody needs to do the compare and contrast of the 2 Banes. It's fascinating to me. He's a terrible adaptation in this, and there you go. It's Bane in name only, pretty much. But the costume looks cool. Pretty comic accurate. Let me know what you think of this movie. I know people who are diehard fans of this movie because it's so bad this is their favorite Batman movie. Legit, I know 2 individual people who this is their favorite Batman movie because of how infinitely watchable it is. Bat Skates, I've never heard this girl laugh harder in her life. Anyway, thanks for watching, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and peace.